I have with me David Pakman. He is a progressive host and executive producer of the nationally syndicated radio and TV program, The David Pakman Show. And I wanted to talk to David Pakman. He is a beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. The beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. The beta male.
Can you remind the audience, when you talk about being a beta male and being an alpha male, what are we talking about here?
There are males, most men today.
Yeah.
Male. They think and act like a woman. They're emotional. They are mentally off. They have no logic. And that's a beta male. They go along with homosexuality.
Hold on, whoa, Jesse, we got to, that's a lot.
LGBTQ.
That's a lot,
They
hold on.
agree with everything that's wrong. Abortion, they think and act just like a woman. A beta male does. But a non-beta male doesn't, because he's a logical thinking. And they're controlled by the darkness of David Pakman. He is a beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. The beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. The beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. The beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta male. David Pakman. He is a beta.
All right, guys, let's cut it because we do have breaking news to get to. We have another one of these completely delusional Rudy Giuliani hearings. Take a listen to this.
Just keep in mind, we still have got a dozen witnesses to hear, and it's 3:30. So.
Whoa, hold on a second.
I just wanted to revisit what you were saying as far as you got to a point where you say that they didn't know where these trucks of ballots were coming from.
They didn't. It's not that they didn't know. It's that they didn't know how many were still coming.
Okay. I assume at this point in time, these were not early ballots. And then
Okay, so we're going to primarily be listening to Rudy Giuliani, and it's anyone's guess whether he's going to be making a fool out of himself merely for what he says or also because of how he looks. It's always unclear. But this is going to be completely outrageous. This one is happening in Arizona. The one I covered with you last week was happening in Pennsylvania. And what's hilarious about these events is there's never any evidence of voter fraud presented. There's no evidence of fraud, or Freud, which we've heard all interchangeably if you look at the emails that I've been getting from Trump supporters. They just never present it because they don't have it. And when you look at the court filings that they've done, they don't actually allege voter fraud in the court filings because they know they don't have evidence. So these are dog and pony shows, but Rudy Giuliani is running them at this point, and they are just a hilarious train wreck to see. And Donald Trump keeps promoting them. If you look at Donald Trump's Twitter account, he has pinned a live feed from this event that we are watching, and earlier today tweeted, Trump legal team in Arizona and on OAN now, big stuff, enjoy. So Trump is promoting it as much as anybody else, even though according to people around Trump, he realizes that this is not actually going to give him a path to victory. And even more so, it is making him look stupid. So let's just listen to a little bit more here. One witness.
Greg,
then I have
I'm very
much
sorry
more
for
for you.
butchering your name, man. But if you would, could you properly pronounce it?
Yeah.
Give us just 10 seconds of what you plan to tell us, and if you could, keep it within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you
for having me here today. My name is Greg Wadinsky. I'm obviously an American citizen
Obviously.
in Maricopa County. I want to talk to you a little bit about what I observed as a certified poll observer, election observer down at the Maricopa County MTech facility, the tabulation.
Guys, I'm pretty sure this is convicted felon Bernie Carrick. Can anybody confirm that for me? Is this actually Bernie Carrick in the audience, Bernard Carrick? Somebody could fact check that for me. That would be even more outrageous.
chain of custody and what I would discuss or describe as the ability of fluidity or porous administration on the system. As I mentioned, I was an observer at MTech on 10/24, and then again a week later on Sunday, 11/1, before Election Day. I spent approximately
See, now Rudy's moving, and Bernie, it was almost like Bernie was going to go. I think that that's Bernie Carrick. I'm telling you guys.
The paperwork to be there was badged, and I had the ability to move about the MTech tabulation room. I was in the area where they were doing adjudication work, and then later on the Sunday the 11th, Sunday the 1st.
Okay, so this guy's going to figure out what dates all of these things happened on. I want to get caught. This is going to go on for a while, and we're going to primarily focus in on the claims that Rudy makes because the witnesses are just endless. And anyway, you guys understand. A couple different things. Number one, I don't know if you guys are aware of massive dumps, but it is what Donald Trump is now blaming for his election loss. So I do want to play just a couple of clips for that. Donald Trump did a completely humiliating interview with Maria Bartiromo yesterday, who now is indistinguishable from the North Korean broadcasters who report that Kim Jong-un doesn't defecate. Speaking of which, Donald Trump now is blaming massive dumps for losing to Joe Biden. Take a listen to this.
And what happened, if you watched the election, I was called by the biggest people saying, congratulations, political people.
Yeah.
Congratulations, sir, you just won the election. It was 10 o'clock and you looked at the numbers, and I'm sure you felt that way. This election was over. And then they did dumps. They call them dumps, big, massive dumps. In Michigan.
I love the timing of the glasses adjustment when Trump blames massive dumps for his email loss. She just adjusts the glasses like, now I'm going to need my glasses for. Let me just go back and play that one more time, because you couldn't script anything more comedic than this.
This election was over, and then they did dumps. They call them dumps, big, massive dumps in Michigan and Pennsylvania. And all over.
Yeah, they were doing dumps all over the place. And next thing you know, Donald Trump lost. How insane is this? How insane is that this is what the president is alleging? Let me just look at one more clip here. Where was this one? Not the Dominion clip. Not this one. Where was it? Oh, this is just genius. Maria Bartiromo comes up with the brilliant idea that if you just don't count the votes from swing states, Trump won.
Critical part of this story, Mr. President, but if you take out the contested swing states electoral votes,
take them out.
You're back down to President Trump having 232 electoral votes and Joe Biden having 227. That is if you strip out the
right.
6 states with the legal challenges.
Listen, and by the way, legal challenges. We see when they say legal challenges, it's this guy. The legal challenges are based on, listen, this is a legal challenge that they've based this on.
Were being fed into the computer system within that room, and there was an assurity that there seemed to be a level of physical as well as network security based on the arrangement of those computer systems.
The arrangement of the computers leads to Biden won, apparently. So when they say legal challenges, that's what they're talking about. If we just willy-nilly say, because understand the logic. This is, I hope people understand the circular reasoning here. They file lawsuits that are bogus in these 6 states. And then Maria says, listen, these 6 states are contested. If you don't count them because they're contested, you're in the lead, Mr. President. But why aren't you counting them? Oh, well, because Trump himself filed the lawsuits. Just don't count Pennsylvania, don't count Georgia, Michigan, Arizona, Wisconsin, Nevada. Take all of those states out and Trump's actually in the lead.
So is the thinking here that because of the various ballot issues,
right,
that the Supreme Court will rule that the vote is tainted? And that will mean that they have to take votes away from...
They've tinted it off-white.
...Biden and not certify. Is that the thinking? And secondly, what's your timing on this, Mr. President? Because we've got some...
How soon do you think you'll defeat Biden?
election dates here that I want to ask you what you believe you consider to be your drop dead date in terms of proving this case.
Yeah.
Is it December 18th when the states finalize elector appointments or when electors cast votes in each state? Is it the vice president receiving electoral votes? Is it the House and Senate counting electoral votes? Or is it inauguration day?
Why is she screaming also?
January 20th. How do you see it?
Well, I don't want to give you an actual date. A lot of people say the 18th or they say the 14th.
But notice, this is the funniest thing. Okay, I really need you guys to understand something. Trump has no clue what the dates are. You know how we know that? Maria Bartiromo misspoke and said December 18th when, as you can see on screen, it actually says December 8th. She misspoke and said December 18th. Trump, because he has no idea, he doesn't realize December 18th isn't the date that she was referring to. It's not even a real date. But Trump also says December 18th. I hope you guys caught that. She just said December 18th because she thought that's what December 8th said. And then Trump says a lot of people are talking about December 18th. Nobody's talking about December 18th. Maria is the only person because she misread the graphic.
A lot of people say the 18th or they say the 14th or they say January 20th.
No, nobody is talking about December 18th other than Maria Bartiromo herself. So a bizarre, absolutely bizarre interview. And again, the big headline that Donald Trump is blaming massive dumps all over the place. I know people probably expect this to be, a straightforward stream, and they're tuning in and they hear me talking about massive dumps all over the place. The president said it. Okay. The president said it. And just because we had like 5,000 people tune in while we were doing this, let me just play it for you, for you one more time. Oh, hold on.
I was called by the biggest people saying, congratulations, political people. Congratulations, sir. You just won the election. It was 10 o'clock and you looked at the numbers and I'm sure you felt that way.
Yeah, she did.
This election was over. And then they did dumps. They call them dumps, big, massive dumps in Michigan and Pennsylvania and all over.
They were doing them all over. It was absolutely vile and disgusting. Okay, so that is the case the president is making at this point in time. Here we are back in Arizona, where it is a maskless event during which Rudy Giuliani is apparently making the case that there is fraud. Now, a couple things. Let me just get to a few super chats, and then we're going to continue with some other elements here. Chakaseki says, David, can you appeal to your talented songwriting friends for someone to sample Trump's massive dumps quote for a new bangin' tune? If there is anything that needs to be satirized and remixed, it is Trump talking about massive dumps. And by the way, extra points if you can include, we released a clip about this about an hour and a half ago. If you can sample Trump saying massive dumps and me talking about it in a song, please do it. So this goes out to Physic and Joseph Woodward and Jethro Bradley, all of these music creators that I think would do really, really, really well if it were to be remixed and sampled. Let's get back to Rudy.
What does that all lead you to, at least hypothetically, conclude?
Well, I think my biggest concern would be that we've been hearing from election officials and others that...
Could you get just a little closer?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We've been hearing from election officials and others about the sanctity and the security of this system.
The sanctity.
We've been hearing...
We must preserve the sanctity of voting.
Coming and going. And one of the most, I guess, basic premises of any kind of security would be physical security. And by having that disk drive copied and then shuffled off the premises, presumably, by this gentleman's statement, without a chain of custody, that's no different than ballots in a box, read or unread, coming and going without any supervision.
So this Dominion employee took...
Now they're on Dominion.
Could have taken him anywhere and could have done anything with him that he wanted.
Notice that anything could have happened in this election. We just don't know. Okay, well, how long are you going to keep saying anything could have happened without putting forth an idea as to what did happen?
His job was to make that copy.
So why is there a chain of custody?
I would imagine there's a chain of custody so that we can prove that the data has not changed and it arrived at its intended destination unhandled and
untainted,
or any kind of malicious activity performed on it.
And this was a Dominion employee who did this?
That's correct.
And any of the county...
Is anybody even under oath here? Like, is this even relevant in any way to any kind of legal proceeding? I know they talk about sworn affidavits, but is this testimony even legally relevant in any way? Does anybody know? No, everybody thinks it's not. Yeah, okay, that seems to be it. Okay, a few other super chats while we continue to look here. Do you think, generally speaking, a professor of physics or philosophy is more intellectual? Those seem like semantic labels. I'm not sure. Chakaseki says Donald Jr., on the other hand, is always on the lookout for massive bumps. Sniff, sniff. Nick says Diaper Don has master dumps in his diaper. Oh my God. A lot of messages about this. Danny says that this probably is Bernie Carrick. He was definitely with Rudy at the Four Seasons landscaping fiasco. Yeah, I think that is Bernie Carrick. And Ian says, what does intellectual mean? Philosophy, econ, and law degree here. There are deep critical thinkers and buffoons in all of these fields. Well said. Maybe Biden should contest Texas and Florida, then we can throw those results out too. Right, like at what point is this people just saying, I'm not really sure what happened? Joe says, is the lady in the back wearing rubber pants related to massive dumps? I don't know. I don't know who that is. I don't know if that's rubber, vinyl, or leather. Remains to be seen. Dreas Sanchez says, what software do you use to show the video and yourself separately as well as audio? Streamlabs OBS is what we use. Dennis says, can you pick out the person that just came from the bondage session? Yeah, I assume you're referring to the vinyl or plastic pants. There's half a barrel of oil in these pants, if you can imagine that. Very, very hard to believe, but accurate. Very, very accurate. Okay. We are continuing to watch this, I guess we're calling it testimony. I don't know. It's not under oath and it's not legally relevant in any way. Let's listen to a little more.
He told me that he was doing this daily.
So every night he would take out the drive with him?
He would make a copy to the main, what he called the orange drive in the cage in the security area, and then make a second copy for this off-site copy, which would then allegedly move out of the MTech facility to some unknown destination.
And when you objected to it, what happened?
I guess I really didn't overreact. I was there as an observer, and I guess it wasn't my question. You know, I did feel it was my position to get confrontational about it, and I just quietly made my observations and duly noted them to the proper authorities.
Duly.
Is there anything else you noted about the facility?
I had to flush the toilet 15 times, just like Trump said.
Some publications around the county's installation of the facility and the idea that it provides a level of transparency to the community. It's visible if you have access to the building, the server's visible. My concerns, though, would be that I can't say with, because I just don't know.
Right.
Whether or not, by just looking at that facility and looking at the way
Hey, by the way, how are they even holding an event indoors where masks aren't mandatory at this point? Like, what parts of the country are remaining at this point where you can do an event like this with no masks at all? It's very strange.
15, maybe even more than 20 people working on adjudication in there, as well as the staff from the county. So
when they were taking the copy, making the copy, did they do any data checks before removing the drives?
Wow, that question was just handed to Rudy by Jenna Ellis. Brutal question.
My question to the employee and his answer didn't include any speculation around that.
Understand like how they're manipulating this. This is one of those things where I can come to you at any time. Actually, let me get back to that. Hold on.
Representative Roberts,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, you mentioned earlier that you said that you reported your concerns after.
Okay, Senator, they're going to ask. So that's one of those things where, crafty lawyers will often do it. We could be talking about, this happens a lot actually in medical malpractice claims and testimony, where there will be a malpractice claim about a hip replacement, for example, and it could be legitimate. It might not. It's being evaluated. And there will be some standard practice as to how you prepare a patient for hip replacement and all these different things. And to be clear, this is not a defense of anybody in particular, but a clever lawyer who wants to make the surgeon look bad will come in and say, Dr. Giuliani, did you check the June 2015 New England Medical Journal report about hip replacement adverse reactions for people who have had too much grapefruit juice? And it could be, completely irrelevant to the thing, but the idea is you put the doctor in a position to say, no, I didn't look at that. Really? And then later you go to a jury and you say, Dr. Giuliani, did you not under oath tell me you did not look at that article about interactions between grapefruit and hip replacements? That's true, I did. Right? You're trying to create that type of gotcha moment. And when Rudy Giuliani says, did they let you know they were doing data checks? How is that even remotely relevant to whether Joe Biden won? They're trying to create something to get. They didn't do data checks? Oh my God. No data checks. Can you imagine? Guys, it's meaningless. It's meaningless. Let's listen to this next witness briefly. By the way, I'm using the term witness very loosely.
2020 election as voting irregularities, inequities, lack of transparency, and contested voter results. I'm also here as a veteran, a military veteran, and wish to
thank you for your service. How is that relevant?
Of our military men and women that serve to keep the United States of America a free constitutional republic, a nation of constitutional laws, checks and balances. And
it's kind of weird that,
And to all of our military branches.
It was weird that he said he's there as a veteran and then talked about the Constitution. It's like, shouldn't constitutional lawyers be commenting on the Constitution? And how is veteran status or the Constitution relevant to whether Joe Biden won Arizona? Like, do you guys understand how weird this all is?
Responsible for financial operations, mergers and acquisitions, audits that were both general audits and forensic audits, banking, tax, and legal relationships with barristers, solicitors, and attorneys internationally.
Barristers?
Following is my declaration, as well as a copy of my poll observer authorization form, which I brought with me to show you.
Bernie Carrick is just like, what the hell am I even doing here? What is this? Why am I even here?
It's required to present to poll inspectors at each of the poll locations where I was assigned to observe. Also, I have a picture of the Barr Elementary School gymnasium. That was a polling location where I served on November the 3rd.
He noticed that it was very irregular. They were advertising at the bake sale after you vote brownies, and they were blondies. Completely irregular naming of baked goods.
From an assigned seat at the entrance of the gym and not be able to see any of the ballots or the actual processing that was located at the opposite end of the gym. Everybody knows what a school gym looks like, but I thought I'd bring a picture just to make certain that you got it.
Oh my God. That's why that's why everybody should be wearing masks. Dear God. Was that Rudy in the background there?
United Methodist Church in Sun Lakes, Arizona.
It's too perfect, guys.
From 5:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at the Barr Elementary School in Phoenix. and then from 4 o'clock to 7:15 at the Sun Lakes Methodist Church in Sun Lakes, Arizona. While serving as an observer, I personally witnessed the following. Observers were not allowed to talk with poll workers or voters, which was part of the manual that the Secretary of State had put out.
Now, you know, one of these things about the term not allowed that's being thrown around, what do they mean by that? Like, was that, let's imagine that that's true in some way. They weren't allowed by police. They were physically restrained. Like, what does it mean they weren't allowed?
Areas of the voting to be able to observe them. At the Sun Lakes location, I was seated about 25 feet away from the tabulating machine and the ballot box, the ballot drop box. And I had to ask the poll inspector and had to be accompanied by a poll worker if I wanted to walk around to observe anything anywhere in the polling locations. In the Barr Elementary School, I was seated about 80 feet from the 2 tabulator machines and the ballot drop box, and I had to ask the poll inspector, who was at the opposite end of the gymnasium, and I only saw her maybe twice during the time I was there from 5:30 in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. If I wanted to walk around and I had to be accompanied by a poll worker to observe anything anywhere in the poll location.
Okay, so we're going to put, so we're just taking it. This has been going on for 8 hours. So we're just taking a sampling of different things. Rudy is coming back and we're going to hear from Rudy soon. And it's all very interesting. A few other super chats coming in. The Battle Master says, I'm English and I'm just getting out of lockdown and I feel so sorry for Americans. They got a president who doesn't even want to give up his power like a dictator. And I thought our government was screwed. Kyle says, hey, I have pictures, guys. So obviously fraud. Big Daddy wants to argue as a veteran, as a military veteran, that Kanye West won the election. Well, good sir, that is your right to do. Maria wants the audio samplers to include Trump ranting about flushing toilets if you do a remix about Trump talking about massive dumps. I think that's a good idea. I think that's a really good idea. Let me just say a few thank yous. The Font Peg subscribed with Twitch Prime and says, amazing that they keep letting Rudy go out in public. Keep up the good fight, David. Yeah, we have a report tomorrow about claims that people around Trump are telling him Rudy's making you look like an idiot, but Trump seems to not be listening because he's still promoting these events. I do want to say thanks to the 2209, to the 12 people that got Twitch subs while we've been chatting here, and also a big thank you to Helena Palokangas, who signed up at joinpacman.com, and Teresa, is that Keller? Teresa Keller, who signed up at joinpacman.com. People asking about phones. I would love to open phones today, but we're going to have to stick to our goal of 100 website members and Twitch subs. We actually, the last week has been very rough. Coronavirus is crushing people, and I am getting about 25 to 30 emails a day of people saying, David, I'm sorry. I have to cancel my membership. I've lost my job. My business, my work is still shut down because of the virus. And I understand we are not essential spending. I totally get that, but it's sad what's going on. So if you are not in that position, I know there's lots of folks who have done actually really well during the pandemic. I would love for you to grab a subscription at joinpacman.com. It's the most direct way of supporting the work that we do. We have much planned for 2021, and I would love for you to grab a subscription at joinpacman.com. We estimate that only about 0.7% of our audience subscribes in any kind of financial way, and that's fine. We want to do the show for everybody, right? Well, the 0.7 are subsidizing the 99.3%, and that's great. But I would love for you to grab a membership at joinpacman.com. We have this great new coupon code, Fresh Start. The coupon code will likely be outlawed under the Biden administration. It's too big of a discount, so I encourage you to take advantage of it right now. 70% off Fresh Start. And I will do my best to thank everybody that signs up. But in all seriousness, all the people who are saying, I'm a member, I'm a member, I'm a member, I love it. I love it. And I very much appreciate that. And we will continue thanking people. We will get back to the testimony at the conclusion of this witness. We are expecting Rudy to sort of ask some questions and maybe refocus some elements of this. And that I think would be very interesting. I do hope, since this is my first time back since Thanksgiving, we are going to get back to the meat of this. But I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen Nemo the dog begging for my grapes over Thanksgiving. And you know what's funny? People immediately started sending me messages saying, David, you do not give the dog grapes. Grapes can be toxic to dogs. David, no, don't give him the grapes. And so I had to clarify, I am not giving him any grapes. Everybody relax. Everybody relax. But Nemo the dog, very, very anxious for some of my grapes. And in the meantime, the coronavirus numbers are absolutely insane. 40 people just died while we've been talking. We saw this dip in cases and deaths, which I believe is due just to the holiday weekend. And I think that we are going to see the numbers probably pick back up in the next few days as the data is all processed. As you can see today, another 131,000 cases and about 1,000 deaths. And I think we are still waiting for a few states: Colorado, Idaho, New Mexico, Oregon, New Hampshire. Still waiting on. So the numbers are absolutely vile. I mean, it's insane. Let's get to Rudy's questioning now.
Served the green button. It was while I was a poll observer.
But when you were a poll watcher at the voting location.
At the poll
Okay,
location.
well, explain to me the green button.
The green button is a button that's labeled cast.
Never press the green button.
C-A-S-T. It is a triangular shaped button. And there is another button that's on the machine right next to it,
which is launch
nuke.
nuke.
Shaped button that was a button that was used for other issues, but it wasn't for casting the ballot. If they wanted to reject the ballot, they push the rectangular button, and they would.
This guy's got to get on mic.
So, as I understand it, the reason that the green light would show up is because the machine wasn't accepting the ballot. There was some issue with the ballot. Now, whether there was...
You'd think a red light would signify a problem. It's weird to make the green light the something's really wrong color.
It had rejected the ballot. But I had observed from the distance that I was at that so many times that green button, that green triangular button had to be pushed, that it seemed to me like it was almost a requirement that they had to do that in order to be able to put a ballot through.
Imagine if all this time green button just means the ballot's been counted.
Press the green button.
Well, the green button did accept the ballot. It pushed it through, but it put the ballot then into a drawer which they noted as drawer number 3, which separated that from the ballots that were accepted, which went into drawer number 1 and number 2. So all those ballots that went in number 3, I don't know what happened to them.
Were they put aside for further inspection?
I don't know. Because these ballots...
This guy is damn sure that a green button that's triangular kept being pressed, but he doesn't know exactly why, and he doesn't know what was done when that button needed to be pressed.
Special boxes just for them? For number 3?
I don't know if the drawer number 3 went into a special box, because I wasn't able to observe that.
I see.
And get close enough to see that. But I know that the ballots then were all supposed to be taken to another location where there was a central location in the East Valley in Arizona, where they were going to be picked up by a white panel truck.
The fact that it's a white panel truck is one of those irrelevant details. Like, wait a second. They took the ballots from box number 3 that triggered a green triangular button in a white paneled truck to East Valley, Arizona. Holy shit.
Period, that there were times during the day, usually it was like about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, where a truck would come, a van type truck, a panel truck.
A van type
to
truck.
The poll location. There were 2 representatives that would come in that had name tags on them.
Was it a van or a truck?
Take the ballots, and I happened to follow that out. They would take the ballots, put it into a box, a plastic box, and they would take them out to their truck. Well, in one case, I followed them out. Just
Was it a van-like truck or a truck-like van? I want to know what it was.
the truck that they had a California plate on it. So I thought they
Highly irregular truck, that's for sure, yeah.
understand that they were renting trucks locally, so there could have been that there were enough people moving from California that were using those trucks.
Right, they were just movers.
Are you referring now just to the ballots that were the subject of the green button that went into
No,
number 3?
these were just
All the ballots.
These were all the ballots. They were ballots.
So they were transporting the ballots, essentially, is what he's saying.
coming from out of the machines.
And the green ballots were taken along with them?
Green ballots.
Okay. And now you also said that, well, how many ballots approximately do you think were cast that way, that you observed?
Well, in each day, when I was there prior to the actual election day, there were probably several hundreds to thousands of people that filed through that particular,
How many?
several hundreds to thousands.
Rudy for a second perked up and thought he was going to get this guy to say hundreds of thousands of people, like 400,000. And he perked up there. I don't know if you guys noticed. But then the guy said, well, hundreds or thousands of people over the entire time. Like, wait a second. That's it?
When you were at the Maricopa County election facility, where the ballots were received, validated, and processed, you were seated 25 feet in front of a room with 110 ballot processes. Could you see anything?
No. I mean, I could see the people, I could
No,
see
but
the
could you
room.
observe signatures or?
Not at all.
You know what's so stupid about this? If he was 5 feet from 25 poll workers, how does one person monitor what 25 people are doing anyway? Like you're going like this in a circle? It doesn't make any sense.
And they would just go through that long aisleway and set them off on the side. Other than that, I was not able to talk to anybody. I was not able to see anything. I was not able to examine anything. So as a poll observer, I was really hindered by just being there and not being able to.
He was hindered by merely being there. That's the line of the night, my friends.
Again, there were 110 of them, so they were spread.
110 tables.
Yes.
And how many observers?
And I would say the room was probably as large as this room.
How many observers? Republican observers.
Well, I was the only.
You were the
I was
only
the only poll
Republican
observer on the Republican side. While
For
it was there,
110
110
tables.
processors.
110 tables?
No, 110 processors.
On how?
Two at a table.
Shouldn't Rudy like proffer the witness and figure out the testimony first?
And I was the only Republican observer.
And you have only 2 eyes, right?
Unless
you
I'm
weren't
wearing my-
selected
unless I'm wearing
because
my
you have
glasses.
more than 2 eyes.
Unless I'm wearing my glasses.
Well, then you have 4. Okay. So I mean, you couldn't see anything.
No, could not see anything.
They could have been putting phony ballots in, and you wouldn't have known the difference.
Absolutely.
Reportedly, that truck van that was highly irregular and moved the ballots, they didn't even refrigerate the ballots, if you can imagine. They were what they call spoiled ballots. It's wild. Okay, Kyle asking, how much does it cost to ruin your reputation? $20,000 a day. Yeah, Trump paying Rudy 20 grand a day to ruin his reputation. Jeffrey says he's contradicting himself. He's so far away he couldn't see anything, but he can see the green ballots go in drawer number 3. Guys, yes, he was across the room and that triangular green button was so big that it was just very clear to him what was going on. Thank you to the 25 new subscribers over on Twitch, which puts us at 39. I know a lot of people very anxious to get the phone lines opened. Let me see here how we are doing from the standpoint of website memberships. We had 2. We are now at 18. That's 16, which puts us at 55. Yes, I will open phone lines. We have a very modest goal of 100 website members and Twitch subs, and I would love to do it. Now, here is a relevant question. A lot of people in Twitch chat are saying, Rudy is billing 20 grand a day, but is Trump really paying him? Because Trump is known for not paying contractors. That's an absolutely appropriate question. I've been asking myself the same thing.
Raise an issue about that?
No, I didn't, because I didn't know whether anything that was going on there was proper or not proper. I was only there for one day, and I was just observing to see what questions I did want to ask, of which I asked a few questions, as well as that I realized that I was not able to actually see the process coming where the trucks come in, unload the ballots, see what was going on in the mailroom, how they process through the ballots.
It was just one day of that, one day?
Just, I was there for one day.
Rudy's making a note.
100,000 votes a day.
Yes, correct.
And then you mentioned that 35 people signed under penalty of perjury. Something about the green...
Yes.
The green button.
Would you explain that one more time? So
They said they found it to be a shade of blue. It wasn't even green.
The Arizona GOP had received many, many calls and complaints from voters about the fact that they felt that when they checked, their ballot hadn't been counted. So they were wondering what happened to it. So they wanted to know how they can check to see if their ballots were actually counted or what happened to them. As a result of that, the Arizona GOP had asked for volunteers to come in to make calls back to these people, these voters, to find all over the valley, to find out what the issues were that they had encountered. What I had uncovered that I just testified to was that many of
The idea of calling this testimony, I find sort of problematic.
and picked up their affidavits. So I was able to talk to them not only the phone, but talk to them person to person. That they had told me that the experience they had was that they brought their ballot up to the machine. They put it into the machine. The poll worker that was there, when the green light went on, the poll worker that was there told them to push the green button. And they did. And the machine accepted their ballot. But yet it wasn't counted.
Earlier he said he didn't know whether it was or wasn't counted when this green button thing happened.
Is that you, Mr. Roberts, or Mr. Cook? Mr. Cook, please.
That is Carrick,
Thank you,
right?
Mr. Chairman. This is to clear something up for us here from your testimony, sir. Okay, I don't know if anybody else noticed, but there were 3 drawers, and I'm confused. What do we need 3 drawers for? So my question is, the 2 drawers that were there, how were those ballots separated and why? Were votes for the presidential candidates, were they separated by that for 2 drawers? Was they separated for the county supervisor races? Why was there a need for 2 drawers if the ballot went through the machine, everything was good? Why 2 drawers? Do you know the answer to that?
No, I don't.
You know, a lot of these questions could be answered just by asking not poll observers, ask the counties that are running the election and the manufacturer of the machines. Why are there 2 drawers? Like, you don't need a hearing to ask this guy that.
Were.
Okay, thank you. Next question I have was that, did you witness in any of your, and thank you for your work, by the way, did you witness anything like the testimony we have heard today where the lowering of standards on the site for signature verifications for any mail-in ballots were those...
Like, why would you be asking a glorified volunteer how the voting machines work? Ask the people who made the machines.
So my answer to that would be, I don't know.
Right. Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Roberts?
You know, when I had my driving test with a Massachusetts state police officer, when we got back and he was done with his day of running these tests, he put the different applications for licenses into 2 different drawers, and I immediately found that suspicious.
Referring to earlier?
I wasn't allowed to see any part of the receiving process where the trucks would come to the building, they would be unloaded, they would go into the mail receiving room. The mail receiving room should have been able to separate the ballots by whatever method they would use to separate them. They were then supposed to go through a slicing machine. And these were things that I was told, but we were not actually able to see them.
So he's testifying to hearsay. That's hearsay. That's the definition. He was told things he didn't see.
You also said something earlier that you were not allowed, you participated in 2016, 2018, and now 2020, and that some things changed from 16 and 18. I assume there's always going to be some minor changes here and there. But you said that you're not allowed to talk to them, and you're not allowed to walk around the polling place, which was contrary to the policy set forth by the Secretary of State. So were you given any reason as to why you were being told on the day of implementation of these policies why you were not allowed to do what was
Great question.
set forth in those policies, as far as seeing the receiving process, as far as, you're there obviously to observe. Were you given any, you said that you were prevented. How were you prevented? What did they say?
Perfect.
And did they give you a reason as to why you couldn't do that?
The inspector at each of the polling locations, after I would come in and I would show them my official credentials, they would then give me instructions, and this went on in both locations that I served at, where the inspector would tell us that here's the seat where you can sit, and you can't walk around and talk to any of the poll workers or any of the voters. And if you do want to go any place in the facility, in the polling location, that you have to ask me first, and I will assign a poll worker to you for you to be able to walk around with. Now, that's kind
So he was advised of a policy. He's acting like he was handcuffed.
2020 general election manual that was put out by the Secretary of State, which said, if an observer arrives at the voting location, the inspector should, number one, welcome the observer and thank them for their service. Number two, instruct them that they can observe operations, but must maintain at least a 6 foot of physical distance from voters. Number three, work with the observer to find a few optimal locations in the vote center, that
The funny thing is, this guy's acting like that's they find the locations on the first day. This guy's like, yeah, on the 7th day that I was there, they didn't work with me to find locations. Is it, well, no, it's like the 6th day of early voting. They've already figured that out. They already have people sitting in certain places. Very bizarre testimony. Very, very strange. We'll get back to Rudy momentarily. I do want to thank the Chunky Avenger for gifting so many beautiful subscriptions over on Twitch. And we are working our way towards hopefully opening up some phone lines. We are at 68 new members and subs. I also want to add 3 more folks just signed up on my website, joinpacman.com, putting us at 71. Angel is asking a good question. Is this a real hearing or a press conference designed to look like a hearing? Listen, it's a hearing with Republicans only, and only Republican lawyers, and nobody's under oath. So it's not really a hearing, no.
And unfriendly, how so?
as a Republican poll worker, which I had a badge that I had to wear that said that I was a Republican poll observer, I felt intimidated by.
Oh my God, he was now they're arguing intimidation. Okay, by the way, this guy's been how long has this guy been talking? Let me see here. This guy's been talking for, I guess, about 42 minutes. He was supposed to go 10 minutes. It's crazy what's going on. I mean, it's true. It's completely insane what's going on. Ryan suggests maybe the first drawer filled up and they had to use other drawers. Just a thought. Fair question. Dennis says, has this guy just sweated all his hair dye away? That's unfair. That's ad hominem. When does McConaughey show up? A real lawyer. I've only been a lawyer for 15 years. Seems to me like his witness is merely saying that his expectations of being a poll watcher weren't met. Yeah, this guy didn't like how it all worked, essentially, is what I guess the case that he's making here. The claims are all very, very strange and sort of overlapping and internally conflicting. Now they're clapping for this guy.
They also have a badge that identified Democrat?
Some of them did, some of them didn't. So it wasn't consistent.
But you were...
They all had to come in with an identification The Republicans were one color, the Democrats were another color.
Whoa.
When I was at the election facility there for the short period of time that a Democrat was there, which they came in like about 2 in the afternoon, and we stayed till from 2 to like 4 in the afternoon. There was a Democrat there. She was sitting right next to me. The extent of the conversation I had with her started and ended with the fact that the Democratic...
Let's just take a look at this same hearing from a different angle just to see like what's going on to this guy's right. It's not any less crazy on this side. I mean, still like, I guess one mask I see. It's not any less wacky with this reverse angle. Yeah, I do think there is something like, listen, I don't think that, somebody here, ad hominem means to counter with one's own arguments. No, that's not what it means. That's weird. I do think that there is some calculation in putting the woman with the leather pants in this position because people won't stop talking about her on any of my streams or on the streams that this is happening on. So I don't think that that's a mere coincidence. I think that that's quite fair to say. Okay, Drummer Shy says the Trump campaign spends so much money on these failing recounts and the states are getting, quite frankly, free money. Here's something super interesting. Oh, let's listen to the transition to the next witness. Hold on.
It's been such a long day, and we've had a number of witnesses that have had to go to work and have had to leave. So if I'm going to give you a couple minutes, if I call your name and you're not here, we'll go on to the next person, but we're going to try and work through this entire name list. The next individual up is Diane Sarah. Is Diane still here?
So as they find another witness, one of the things that was fascinating is that the Trump campaign paid $3 million for a partial recount in 2 Wisconsin counties. And they did that, and it added 87 votes for Joe Biden. So they paid $3 million. Joe Biden got 87 votes. So in essence, Trump's donors paid $34,000 per additional vote for Joe Biden, if you can imagine. But it's not a waste of money for Trump because Trump raised $6 million, used $3 million for the recounts, and then kept $3 million to pay off campaign debt. So Trump's like using this as one last big scam, so to speak. And they did a partial recount and they found more votes for Biden. No masks here. Here is our next witness. Let's see what this is all about.
Are now. All right.
Okay.
If you would please give your name, and if I'm just going to ask you to please be succinct about your experience as a poll worker.
Succinct.
So please give
Beautiful.
your name and let's go.
I'm Dr. Judith Burns. I'm a resident of Maricopa County. And I've been a public educator for 40 years at both the university and secondary levels of education.
Ooh, a lot of coughing in there.
I was an observer at the Tabulation and Election Center on 2 occasions and a poll watcher in my community on 1 day. Initially, I chose to do this as a civic duty to my state and to my country. And I believed in the process.
She may cry.
I'm nervous because this is so very, very important.
Ma'am, please don't be nervous. It's just us normal people that you're talking to.
We're on your side.
I know.
You said you were a teacher. We're nervous.
I know. I won't check your grammar.
Thank you.
I observed at the election center on 2 occasions, both in the signature verification room and in the ballot processing room. The first day I was in the signature verification room,
They should say, don't be nervous. This is meaningless. You're not even under oath, and we're in a high school gym, and it's only just Republicans who happen to be legislators. This is meaningless.
Told to stay in that spot, and I was facing a room full of computers that all I could see was...
They had her facing a blank wall, just like dogs sometimes will stand 5 inches from a wall and look at a blank wall, and you're like, what the hell is the dog doing? There's nothing there. They had her facing a blank wall.
See anything, and I was very disturbed by this, but wasn't really sure what to do. I did ask Celia, who I believe is one of the vice presidents of operations, why they were like that, and I was told because they needed to be set up that way due to the wiring systems. So I was there again 4 days later, and the room was full of screeners. I was able to...
She might be nervous because she's like, isn't it illegal to tell lies here? And then they're just like, don't worry, you're not under oath.
Computer screens, which was maybe 6 feet from me. I could see it better when I was able to stand up, which I did. I kept looking at the screen because it seemed very odd. And in the bottom right-hand corner was a yellow banner. And I got into a position where I could see the yellow banner, which said low confidence. Then I started paying much closer attention to the signatures.
Maybe it meant low confidence in the poll watchers.
It didn't even make sense to me because the signature on the ballot that was being compared to other signatures didn't even resemble in any way what they were comparing it to. They were completely illegible. They were just scribbles on the ballot. And there were 5 screeners screening low confidence ballots for an entire afternoon that I was in there. And I asked Celia what the low confidence said, and she said just not to worry about that, that this was a new program that they were testing. And I said, okay. So I continued watching, and shortly after I talked with her, I had a few other questions, and at that time she suggested that I just sit down at the table where we were in our little area that we were supposed to remain. Shortly after that, there was a server outage, and I believe on my affidavit I said there was a power outage, but in actuality the lights were still on. It was
Whoa, that was a sworn affidavit. That's an admission of perjury, isn't it, guys? She said the power was out, and the power, that's crazy. And Rudy says it was sworn.
To check. That was one of my questions. Then when the computers came back up.
Now, as you guys know, of course, the point of perjury is there has to be intent. This is why people say things in court all the time that aren't true, but you've got to prove they knew they weren't true. This is why this entire concept of these are sworn affidavits. Nobody would ever get anything wrong.
Screeners all in one small area. They had some conversation, and the question from one of them to this gentleman was, are you still doing what we were doing, meaning low confidence? And he said, no, I'm doing high confidence now. Oof. And he was, out of those 5 screeners, he was then the only one that was doing high confidence signatures because he was the one I could see. And at least that's what I surmised. I don't know if it was coincidental that there was an outage, and I don't really know what all that means, but
right.
What was evident...
Now so she originally reported as a power outage what was a server outage. She later realized the lights were actually on, so it wasn't a power outage. And now she says she doesn't even really know what it means that there was a server outage. Sworn affidavit, witness testimony.
The other experience was in the, I did ask Celia what happened to those votes.
She thought the entire time when they were talking about server outages, they meant that the waiters and waitresses were just on strike. They weren't coming in and serving food.
And I gave her a puzzled look because it all seemed very odd to me, and I wasn't sure what to make of the fact that there were all these signatures that did not match. And then I was being told they were being counted. The other area that I was in the ballot processing room. We were in a room probably a little smaller than this. There had to have been 75 to 90 tables in there.
Well, wait a second. The previous guy said the room was as big as this room.
Side of different parties, I was told. Again, I was probably as far away as that black curtain, and the room was this big.
She was enclosed in black curtains in a 2x2 box surrounded by black curtains.
Process for getting new ballots for them to take out of the envelopes and separate the ballot and the envelope. But what I noticed that raised some questions for me was they had their purses at their table. They had their cell phones there.
Whoa.
During their break time, if they did not get up and leave their table, they were able to rummage in their purses.
Holy
and,
shit.
in their backpacks.
That's
People had
Freud, for
backpacks
sure.
there as well. And this bothered me. I wasn't really sure if
So how is this? Listen, this woman was bothered by someone looking at their purse during a break. Hand the state to Donald Trump, my friends.
The other thing I found interesting in the whole process was when
Interesting.
the press came in the second day that I was there. The two women that had been in a quality assurance role, is what I was told.
It's
sat at
satire.
tables, and I think if they had overvotes or undervotes on a ballot or an issue with a ballot, they would take to those women. All of a sudden, they were sitting at a table like this, one on each side, and they were processing the ballots very close to me.
Oh, so
They
she
weren't
was
very
close
far.
to the
They had
process.
set up a table.
So the other guy said no Republicans were allowed close. She says they were very close.
And the press was able to take pictures of us so that they could see that there were observers close to them, and they would get behind me, and they were directed that I was an observer. So they were trying to get.
They used a deceptive lens to make it look like I was
I was
closer.
given by the
Now Bernie
conversation I
Carrick
was
can't
hearing.
stop sneezing. Holy shit.
The other experience I had was in my community
yawning.
at the in the early voting. I got there very early, wanted to make sure I knew where I was supposed to be seated and what I was going to be able to see.
Yeah, there's a really good point being made over on Twitch that the things she's talking about aren't even really worth lying about. Like, it's just, she doesn't seem to have liked elements of this. She didn't like where a photographer stood. She was at one point too close and at one point too far from things. She didn't like that during breaks people had purses. It's all, the preferences of these individuals. Let me get us an updated number from the standpoint of opening phones. We had an additional 6 people grab Twitch subs, which puts us at 77. And we had an additional 3 people grab website memberships, which puts us at 80. Just as a reminder, I do want to hear from you guys. We're going to open the phone lines, hopefully at 100. And we've got this great new coupon code, Fresh Start, which saves you 70% at joinpacman.com. I want to say thanks to Tylen, who subscribed on Twitch and said, do not forget to use your free Prime subs to support independent journalism. Yeah, whether it's me or other independent journalists on Twitch, although I don't know who else is on Twitch, you're basically taking money from Jeff Bezos and giving it to independent media. That's a pretty appealing value proposition, if you ask me. Jan pointing out that this is very much like Saturday Night Live. It really is. And none of this really makes any sense at all. And we're going to listen to a little bit more of it here.
And reported that this was going on. This went on all day long in this precinct. There was masking tape. There was tape. Somebody had gone to get a dauber to try to get the envelopes to
Should
stick.
only be duct tape.
But when I would watch people put them in, the envelope would open and so I don't know if those ballots fell out, if those ballots were ever counted. I'm not really sure what it meant. But what I ascertained from all of this was that there were just some odd things going on, and I was concerned. I was concerned both at the tabulation center by the fact that
That's enough for me to overturn the state. She was concerned.
that I was looking at low confidence signatures and was told that those votes would be counted, and then going to a precinct and seeing that envelopes were being taped with masking tape for an entire day. And I was very concerned about that. When I volunteered to serve as an observer, I did so with the belief in the process and the system. That belief has been shaken by this experience.
To its core.
It truly has. And I'm truly concerned for our future as a nation and as a state.
What kind of a country are we if during breaks people have access to their phones? We will not allow this country to fall.
Findings that you received today from the many, many people that are willing to come forward and state what they have observed, that you will make an honest decision so that the integrity of our...
What are they even deciding? The state's been certified. Like, who's she even talking to? What decision is there to make?
Dr. Burns, thank you very much for your courage and your service.
Courage.
Mr. Giuliani, do you have any questions?
So how many days were you there, Ms. Burns?
I was 2 days at the Tabulations and Election Center and 1 day at a poll watching.
Which was first?
The Tabulations and Elections, 2 days there.
The 2 days at the Tabulation Center?
Yes.
And then after that at the election?
At the poll, the first day of early voting.
So at the Tabulation Center, most of the time it was hard for you to see anything.
Right.
I wasn't sure.
At the other place, it was too easy to see. She was too close.
You were there to make observations of the examination of the mail-in ballots, weren't you?
Correct.
To see if they were appropriate,
Right.
filled out, whether the signature looked right, address there, name there. Did you ever get to see any one of them?
Not one.
Not one?
Not one.
So how many people in this center?
In the ballot processing room, there were approximately 90 tables, and it was
Very
a gymnasium-sized
suspicious.
room. And the first day I was there, there might have been maybe 50 to 60 people in the room, 50 to 60 tables with 2 people at each table. The next day I went was during the week, and it was also the day when the press was coming, so all the tables were quite full.
So how many Republican observers were there in addition to you?
We were allowed 1 Republican and 1 other party in the room. That's it.
Other party.
For the entire room?
For the entire room.
She doesn't want to mention the Democratic
And I
Party.
made the mistake after lunch of going into the room, not knowing that somebody else had
Well, I
been
mean, that's
assigned to that room, and I was told to leave.
And you were expected to cover 90 tables?
Yes.
And
You know, the funny thing about all of this is that these are the observers, right? You've then got your poll workers, which are all sorts of people. You know, in Boston, it's common that you have police officers as poll workers. You have Republican poll workers and Democratic poll workers. And why is it that if everything is off the rails, the only people who are talking about it are the Republican observers, but the poll workers, you know, you've got this one example of, what was her name? Melissa Corona or whatever. These are just the volunteers. You think all of these, you know, police officers, public servants, people who are there as poll workers, they're just going to allow all these lies to happen, and they're just.
And they would, and so that when each table got their tub of, I think it was
That's an interesting
250
fact.
ballots.
I think it was a tub of cream cheese.
They were all opened. They had already been opened. And I did ask somebody, where do these ballots come from? Who opens them? And she said, they come from the mailroom. And I started to ask another question. And one question was about our limit that we were allowed to ask. When I started to ask another question, she walked away from me. So they were
So
all
someone was
This
rude
was
to
sort
her.
of this was sort of kind of like the approach of your governor and secretary of state. See no evil, right? Feel no evil. Just ignore it. So the ballots came in a tub. Did the other ballots come in a tub?
It was mixed in, actually, with unsalted grass-fed butter in the tub. It was ballots, cured ballots, and then butter.
Normal ballots that were coming in, what did they come in? What were they carried in?
They were like those tubs with the handles, the shallow tubs that were handled, and they were rubber band. And
But they were sealed, the normal
No,
ones. No,
they
I
were-
say that the normal ones that came in were sealed.
we had no way of knowing.
Listen, these weren't sealed, and that's very suspicious. Oh, is that because all the others were sealed? Well, no, we have no idea. We don't know if they're supposed to be sealed or not, but these were unsealed, and that's really suspicious.
Being brought to the tables. Could you see whether they were open or closed?
They were all opened. They were already,
All?
all of them
All
were
the
opened.
ballots were open that you saw?
They would, the people at the table would open them up, pull the ballot, check the number on the ballot and the envelope so that they coincided. They would separate them. They would have their pile of ballots and the envelopes, and at that point, they were separated.
So they didn't really have to open the envelope. Theoretically, they had to just...
Weird, because Rudy's entire case so far is based on people opening the envelope. Now he's like, nobody had to open any envelopes. Well, your entire original story was based on envelopes being opened.
The district in which they're voting and a signature.
His case, I'm using that
That's
term
how
loosely.
you identify it.
Right.
The inner envelope is called a secure envelope.
There was one envelope. It was the green envelope. There are not two envelopes. It was
Oh,
the
that's
one.
genius. Rudy, for a month, has been making this case about two envelopes. This woman goes, two envelopes? No, there's just one envelope. What are you talking about, Rudy?
Secure envelope.
No, there were not two envelopes. Maybe correct. The green envelope.
This is the
only
best.
envelope that we-
Rudy's like, strike everything this woman said.
Envelope inside, because
No.
your ballot is supposed to be anonymous.
There were not two envelopes. There was one envelope. It
Well,
was
that
a
may
green,
explain why they were open.
right,
Now that's part of the conspiracy.
system where they opened them. But we signed the back of our envelopes.
Look at
and
Rudy.
on the front
He's
of that envelope
perplexed.
is the mailing address.
He's like,
to the-
shit, I've been talking about two envelopes for a month now. And this woman says, there was just one envelope.
I hand carried mine and put it.
But you do it, was it a mail-in vote?
Yes.
Well, was there an envelope you had to put the ballot in?
Yes, a green envelope, one envelope.
One envelope and the naked ballot.
Correct.
No other
No
envelope.
duplicate. And in other states that I have lived
Yes,
in,
yes.
there
Yeah,
were
that's
two
why I'm confused.
envelopes.
Okay. So when it came in, it was open already.
Yes.
It's too
What they
much.
did was separate it.
So before the problem was two envelopes. Now the problem is there's one, but it was open.
Envelopes are, I believe, are scanned in, and the signature verification room is where that number that is on the
This is too good.
envelope coincides with the signature, and those are scanned in. So my
Hey, Jenna, can you cancel everything we've done about two envelopes? Just delete it all.
anything that's on the ballot, they only have the signature, and they are checking it against other signatures.
It is
Driver's
comedy gold.
license, previous voting.
Did you see that done?
That's what I was trying to see in the
No, but I didn't. I was making every effort to see that. But so did you see that part? No, I also didn't see that.
And you were the only Republican doing that too.
I was the only one in
So
that
if you
room.
weren't doing it, nobody else was.
Correct.
So that was all being done secretly. Well, secretly meaning without any Republican observers.
Right, huge secret.
Because the
Just a room full of 90 poll workers.
14 computers there, and it was full, and they were all, I couldn't see any of
So
them.
how many of these ballots would you estimate went into the vote without a Republican getting a chance to even glimpse at the envelope?
As much as I would like to answer that, I can't even
just-
guesstimate. It was an entire afternoon.
How long were you there?
I was there 2 afternoons,
For how long each afternoon?
4 hours.
And how many ballots could they do in an hour?
Well, this was interesting. Some of them would click, 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 click without really looking at them. They would just sort of glance at it and go on to the next one and go on to the next one. There was one gentleman that seemed a little more intent on actually looking at the signatures that he was.
So this is like crazy. Let me just take a little bit of a break from this. A couple of things. Oh, so people are, I see people coming in asking who this guy is. This is Bernard Carrick. Now, he's a convicted felon, right? He's like a former NYPD guy, and I believe convicted felon. No, we're not pausing, guys. This has been going on 8 hours. We're not pausing the video. That's Bernard Carrick. He seems to be working with Rudy on who knows what. And then the woman with the leather pants, I don't know who that is. People have asked if this woman back here has 4 arms. It looks like she just has her arms kind of like out of the sleeves. That's all. And then this is Jenna Ellis over here, another one of Donald Trump's lawyers. That's the That's the crowd. So listen, we have 2 events coming up this weekend that I plan to stream if possible. Trump rallies are starting back up. Reportedly this Saturday, Donald Trump will be doing a rally in Georgia for the Senate races there, Kelly Loeffler or Loeffler, depending on your preference. And also the other David Perdue. I guess it's a joint rally. So Trump rallies are back on Saturday. My plan is to cover it. And on Sunday, we will be covering, there is a debate scheduled between Raphael Warnock and Kelly Loeffler in the Georgia debate. David Perdue, the sitting Republican running against John Ossoff, is not appearing at any more debates, apparently. The last I heard, he is not going to be doing any more debates. And if you saw how badly the last one went for him, you would understand why. So we may have Saturday, Sunday streams coming up and a lot of very, very interesting elements to be watching. So that's all going on. Let me do an update. We have had an additional 15 Twitch subs, which puts us at 95. And then in addition to that, we have had 4 more. Oh my goodness. We are at 99 website members, joinpacman.com. If we get 1 more, we will open phone lines and maybe even go Twitch exclusive. So whoever wants to be that last person, joinpacman.com. The coupon code is available. I would love to hear from you guys. We haven't taken calls in a while. In the meantime, let's just listen just a little bit more to what is being said here.
Texted her. She asked me to write an. And then I got very specific in my email. I was so disturbed by what I had seen. I went into this in good faith that people did the right thing. And that's not what I saw. I've never had the opportunity to provide a civic service like this before, and I was truly astounded at what I saw. And the way people were polite, but the way I was treated. Go sit over there. I was at that black curtain, and the closest table to me was further away than I am from that black curtain.
And you did this for no compensation. And tell us the reason again you did it.
I did it because I'm a retired university professor, and I wanted to be involved in this process. I believe in our country. I believe in this process. And I'm so disappointed in what I saw.
You're shocked.
I was shocked, absolutely shocked. And at first I thought, maybe it's me. I've not done this before. I don't really know specifically what I should be looking for, but it didn't feel right. I didn't know what it really
That's the key thing.
but
She
it
wasn't
didn't
even
feel
sure what it was supposed to look like. She didn't know what she was supposed to be observing, but she didn't like a lot of what she saw.
disturbed me.
I'm very sorry for what happened to you.
Well,
Shouldn't happen in America.
that's
That
why
should-
They're apologizing more to this woman than they did for people who have alleged sexual assault against them. Rudy is more on his hands, on his knees, apologizing to this woman than we've seen actual victims of sexual assault.
Not so fast. Members, any questions? Representative Bartow.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. This was really troubling. I mean, when you think about signature verification, that's so basic. I just have a question about how this works out. From your observation, does each click mean that it was accepted? You're talking about the clicks.
I don't know.
So there could be a click that it's not accepted?
Good luck.
This was something that I can't answer. I don't really know that.
Well, if it wasn't accepted, do you know what happens to those ballots that were not accepted? Did they go somewhere else that you observed where they would be adjudicated properly?
Well, later on, I found out that some of them would go to somebody else and they would follow up on them. But my thinking was there were so many that weren't even close to the signature. How could they possibly follow up on those? So I don't really know where they went, and the clicking was I didn't know.
All right, my friends, as promised, we've gotten to 100 website members and Twitch subs. So we are going to open the phone lines at davidpakman.com/Discord before we get back to this. As I promised, we are going Twitch exclusive for the phone calls. So please, if you would like to participate and listen only, go over to twitch.tv/DavidPakman. I'm going to be pinching off the YouTube stream, excuse me, and the Facebook stream. And we are going exclusive to Twitch, twitch.tv/DavidPakman, and go to davidpakman.com/Discord to get into the waiting room. Okay, I will see everybody over at twitch.tv/DavidPakman momentarily.